First off, I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, transmitting masters, and everyone here today for this opportunity to continue talking about the six paramitas. So last time we talked about the first three: charity, precepts, and forbearance. And so now we're going to continue with diligence, concentration, and wisdom. Okay. All right. So the chief examiner of the three realms, well, everyone should know who that is, right? He's the Buddha who's in charge or oversees all the temple classes. And actually today was his birthday. But anyways, so he says to learn from the 12 divisions of the Mahayana canon, to maintain faith and practice by devoting one's efforts to recite what one has not yet recited, practice what one has not yet practiced, attest to what one has not yet attested. The 12 divisions, I mean, that's just a categorization of all the Buddha's teachings, okay, into 12 different categories. I guess sutras is one of them, and then there are 11 others, but that's not important. But anyways, I guess he's saying that, yeah, we should learn from all the Buddha's teachings, right? So they're like sutras, we can recite, well, recite sutras that we haven't recited either, but anyways, there's, well, I wouldn't say there's endless, but there's many, sutras and teachings that we can learn from, or sutras to recite. So it's kind of, yeah, this learning is, and the studying is endless. You can say it's an endless process. It's at least through the rest of our lifetimes. There's obviously a lot that we haven't practiced either, put into practice what we've learned, right? And also the testing to what we have not yet tested. Testing is basically to prove that this is, basically about the Tao, to prove that the Tao is true, the principles are true, that heavenly mandate is true in our lives. Okay, based on these teachings, when we put it into practice, the principles, then we can prove it, right? But anyways, okay. So the diligence, basically, it's vigorous effort. You can say it's vigorous effort, and it's earnest hard work. So it's also, we need to take the initiative, the learning and applying with the right attitude and with vigor. Okay, so that's kind of what it is. All right. Now, you say necessity is right, there's a saying, necessity is the mother of all inventions, right? We have to reinvent ourselves to meet new challenges. Our cultivation, of course, is a personal challenge. Nobody can force us to cultivate. So we must take the initiative to push ourselves, to challenge ourselves, to achieve and to succeed. We are under the wrong assumption that we are limited. Yes, and we are limited both physically and mentally, but these are just tools, right? The real source of our inspiration and faith, our true essence of Buddha nature, has no limits. Okay, so rather than creating artificial limits for ourselves, we let go of these limits and use the Buddha nature wisdom to guide us to achieve the difficult and even, what we might think as impossible. Okay. So he goes on to say, the sutras contain profound wisdom as deep as the ocean. Reading a sutra is beneficial, right? So we need to diligently study, thoroughly understand, and pray for the great awakening, right? We want to truly awaken to the truth, to our Buddha nature, that's try to achieve that ultimate enlightenment. Diligently practice unified knowledge and action, right? Unify speech and action, right? So it's important that we, what we learn, what we know, we act upon, and that's following that knowledge, right? And also what we say, we should act on it. So in other words, we should not be hypocritical. Okay, so we should, whatever we know and what we say, we should follow through with actions, appropriate actions. Okay. It's just like Zhenzi's his three introspections, right? So the have I been trustworthy to my friends? Have I been faithful in my dealings with others? Have I practiced what I've learned, right? So that's, at the core of these is basically, there's trust, faith, and basically sincerity. Okay. So anyways, we want to keep in mind that the Tao is formless and can only be realized and attested to through practice. Right. The purpose of knowledge is to help us practice and correct our wrong views. Okay. So obviously, the action come after what's in our mind, right? And so we need to correct our mind first before our actions can follow, can be corrected as well. I mean, of course, you can try to correct actions separately, but usually we have to correct our mind first. Okay. So it goes on to say the self-nature is Buddha. There is no other Buddha, right? The Buddha, is not external, right? The true Buddha is internal. It's our Buddha. It's the Buddha nature, right? That's our essence of being. That is the true Buddha. Okay, so this is also to say that the Buddha has no form. Okay, so it's the external Buddhas. They all have forms, right? That's not the true Buddha. So the sixth patriarch, he said, from now on, take awareness as teacher. Do not enter the path of evil and deviant practices. Always prove to oneself the three treasures of the self-nature. Return to the pure land of the self-nature. Prove that self-nature is the pure land. Prove that the self-nature is Lamu, or God. Okay, so yeah, our true nature, our essence is basically the essence of God. It's the same. Okay. And so awareness, right, is really, this awareness is not necessarily like what we think of as conscious awareness, but it's that wisdom, that innate knowing. Okay. And of course, we want to, prove basically the three treasures, like we know the three treasures, right? Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. But it's really, we have to prove in our lives, prove that. Okay. So attest to those, right? Okay. So Holy Teacher talks about this diligence here. It says, an aspiration takes shape with absolute sincerity. Follow the original sincerity from beginning to end. And then gradually and deeply make progress, study every day what we already know. Keep in mind the method or the way. Work hard over and over again. The fourth paramita, which is this diligence, is the stairway of Tao leading to higher levels. Okay, so now in the Chinese, each line begins the character there. If those characters, then what that says is basically diligently practice and implement the Tao. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it starts with sincerity. Aspiration. Take shape with having that sincerity. And they always say from beginning to end, right? So that sincerity, we must maintain that sincerity from whether it's from the time we receive the Tao to the end, basically the end when we leave this world. Okay, and we make progress, but it's like we don't. It's not about how fast, right? We have to make sure we're going in the right direction. That's more important, right? So we should study, review what we learned as well, and these practices. Well, the six paramitas, they're methods, right? Well, actually, the first five are practices, methods. The sixth one, wisdom, prajna, is not a specific method, okay, but it needs to apply to all of them, right? And so, of course, we need to put in the diligent effort to achieve, right? Okay. Diligence is the passion of working towards goodness and advancement all in one go. Okay. Diligence is the proposition to strive for time and substantiate our learning. Diligence is the ideal of always getting to the details and the root of the matter. And diligence is the promotion of zealous learning and diligent effort. Okay, so getting to the heart of the matter, right? That's digging deeper, not just scratching the surface. Holy Teacher wants, or the Buddhists, they want us to realize the essence, not just to see the surface, right? Because a lot of the teachings, when we read them or we hear them, there's like a yeah, you can take them at surface at face value, right? The words, the teachings, they sound because they can apply superficially, but then there's the deeper meaning, right? That applies, not usually the surface meaning is kind of applies to the external or the forms, okay, but the deeper meaning applies to inward, okay, to basically I was talking more about our Buddha nature. Okay. So we have to get to that level and diligence, so the idea is that we need to go beyond just the superficial meanings and get deep into that's how we can, ultimately achieve that enlightenment. Okay. So diligence is the energy of resourcefulness in propagating Tao, maintaining spiritual energy. Diligence is the bustle of taking the initiative to participate in quickening one's pace. Diligence is the culmination of never parting with the sutras and scriptures. Right? Diligence is the prescription for taking initiative and seizing opportunities. Yeah, so it's all these things. I'm going to just kind of go through these kind of quickly because there's a lot of stuff here. I don't know if I'll be able to finish, but diligence is the vital organ of traveling step by step from near to far and reaching high from low. Diligence is the time for transforming life and achieving one's mission. Diligence is the self-cultivation for shortening the journey and achieving one's aspiration. Yeah, we need to transform ourselves, right, to achieve. I mean, hopefully, our goal is to achieve that ultimate enlightenment. And so we need to be diligent in trying to achieve it. Okay. Diligence is the self-improvement where more failures lead to greater courage, and hundreds of setbacks do not cause one to turn back. Yeah, this is, so it's easy to people who aren't, I guess you can say, if they don't have that diligence or, that you need determination, right? The will to and the perseverance, patience and perseverance to use try strive for forward to achieve one's goal, right? And not let failures and setbacks kind of cause us to give up. Okay, so that's also this diligence. Diligence is the orientation to clearly understand the logic and recognize the true principles. Okay, and diligence is the IQ to correct mistakes and ask questions, clear up uncertainties, doubts. Okay, so again, we need to just a lot of times people just listen to the classes and that it's just, again, it's kind of like a surface thing. They listen to at the surface and then it's like very shallow, and they don't really try to dig deeper into and try to truly understand the essence of the teaching. Right. Diligence is the model of not being careless of mind and slacking off of body. Diligence is taking responsibility where one can talk about knowing and knows and take action after talking. Right? Diligence is the repetition of one's efforts one after another in spite of setbacks. Yeah. So so diligence is also, we shouldn't be careless. We should be kind of mindful, right? We should always be mindful of our words and actions. So diligence is the spiritual nourishment of earnestly practicing without hindrance and attentiveness without resistance. Diligence is the magnetic field of the attitude of talented persons and saints in daily life. Diligence is the bridge that attests to or leads to awakening of Bodhisattva way and fulfillment of the six paramitas. So, obviously diligence is, the six paramitas, they're all like, I guess to use a mathematical term, orthogonal, right? They're not. It's not like, I mean, that they can be separate. I mean, separately practiced, I guess, but then they also can reinforce or support the other practices, the other paramitas. Okay. Okay. So here, as long as we are diligent of mind, then how are we restricted by the external environment? Having completed another 1,000 vows, is the body feeling sore, or has it increased our sincerity? Having endured this day of experience, has it produced complaints, or has it stirred up? Well, this is, yeah, I guess Holy Teacher this was in the context of a particular class, but this is to be diligent, right? So we have to endure. In this case, it was they had to endure like it's a hot day in the classroom and there's no air conditioning and all that kind of stuff. But we have to diligence. I guess is means that we're still willing to do it. To sit through all that. All right, and do all those vows, whatever. Okay, endure all those things. Okay, and have and still be grateful to be there, right? To have that you can say the affinity and opportunity to be there to learn. Right? Having seen ourselves in a mirror, do we see a face, or do we see through the karmic existence? Having cleared up some sins, do we just acknowledge our mistakes for a while, or are we repentant from beginning to end? Okay. All right. So Holy Teacher also said, we must reflect and introspect deeply, not just cultivate on the surface, but to be reserved. Okay. So when seeing the attractions of the world, think of its impermanence and unpredictability, right? Everything in the world is, has forms, and these are all impermanent. They're temporary. Unpredictability, that's something that we see every day, and something suddenly happens, then someone lost their life. So that's we have to realize that, hey, things are very unpredictable, things are impermanent. We need to be aware of that, be mindful, and you have to be careful. Okay, so we have to. What's more important than we need to to cultivate, right? When seeing the vast throngs of sentient beings, think of no more rebirth. Observe with penetrating eyes and always think with profoundness of mind. Okay, so so again, we have to look beyond the surface. So only in this way can we go beyond the mundane and enter the saintly or holy. We go from being lost, confused, to being awakened and enlightened. Okay, so again, we have to go beyond the forms and see what, realize what is truly important. Okay. Holy Teacher says, okay, so we must prepare for the unpredictable and impermanent in daily living. We must live the true and eternal in the ordinary. We must know what is normal in unusual circumstances. We must cultivate normally in extraordinary circumstances. So there is, flexibility in how we do things, dealing with matters, or dealing with the circumstances, but we must not deviate from the principles, okay, the Tao principles. Like during the pandemic, right, we cultivate internal virtues more than propagating the Tao because, you can't go out there. But does not mean that we cannot propagate Tao. People can still receive Tao during this time. So we have to, we basically, we have to be flexible still. It's not like all or nothing. So depending on the circumstances, and then, we have to use our wisdom, basically, how we can go about doing things, okay, and what we do, even in these, what we say, abnormal times, okay. So the force of karma is especially sensitive. The effect of causality in karma is especially accurate. Merits and faults are especially judged. To rise or fall is especially of great concern. Okay. So many people, right, they don't realize the shortness and impermanence of life. Many people, they don't realize that it is especially dangerous to be headstrong and willful, have a strong ego. Many people, they do not realize that popular trends are illusory and unreal, right? They just go with the trend, go with whatever others are doing. Many people do not realize that pleasure and entertainment is pitiful. Why? Why? Because basically receiving the one-point transmission, right? Cultivating this one lifetime and practicing diligence can transcend life and death. So, we have to put in that effort. If we can do that, we can actually attest to, prove that this is real, this is true. And others, those who came before us, have proven that. Okay, they've cultivated despite whatever hardships or difficulties they've encountered, circumstances, they ultimately they prove themselves, they've attained immortality, so to speak, return to the absolute heaven. Okay. So if we can constantly study a sutra followed by persistently putting it into practice, then this is considered diligence. Right? If we can constantly listen to the teachings of a principle followed by persistently proving it in practice, then this is considered diligence. So, so it's not just reciting the sutras without putting the principles in action, right? When we listen to the teachings, we also have to incorporate principles into our daily life. Just like Zhenzi said, right, in the 3 introspections, the third one is, have I practiced what I've learned, right? So this is diligence, right? So it kind of embodies the know-how of knowing and also implementing, of practicing. Okay. So yeah, if we haven't like ferried one person in a year, then how can we call diligence? Okay, so Holy Teacher also talks about that. I mean, ferrying, yeah, I mean, obviously we bring people to receive the Tao also, but it's not just that, right? That's only the first step. Then we have to continue to what does it say, like motivate, encourage them, guide them until they, so that they can be steadfast on the road of cultivation too. And that's more important. So that's so teaching, guiding, that's also a part of that. If we haven't read a Tao book in a year, then how can we show diligence? Right? If we haven't studied and learned from a class topic in a year, then how can we talk about diligence? Right. So it's important that we kind of maintain the course, so to speak, stay on the course to learn, to attend the classes, and to continue. If we haven't corrected one of our bad habits or faults in a year, then how can we talk about diligence? So then, it's also the internal cultivation. You have to, that's also part of this, the diligence. Okay. So correct our faults, get rid of our temper. Okay. So, if we do not practice, if we know but do not practice, or practice without knowing, then it is not true diligence. But the skill in diligence is not about speed, but rather is to maintain continuous, wholehearted study and practice. Diligence is to remember what we have learned. In transforming from mundane to saintly, lost to awaken, we must be diligent all the way. Okay. So we shouldn't practice blindly. That's an important thing, right? We have to practice the proper way, and knowing the proper direction. Right? So it is about making progress with sincerity and determination. We shouldn't forget what we have learned. So as long as we put into practice, right, incorporated these principles, what we've learned, into daily life, then it should become a part of us, and we won't forget. Okay, so diligence basically, purpose is to overcome inertia, lack of will, and lazy tendencies. Right, so we gotta work hard. Okay, put in the effort, vigorous effort, and positive energy with unwavering resolve. Okay, so that will keep us going. Right, obviously, faith is very powerful too. That help us, and also vows. When we make vows, that will help us too. So all of these things kind of support each other in these practices. Okay, and in the practice, it's the harmony of learning and implementation. Right, or or the unity, harmony, or unity of learning and studying, and the implementation of practice. Okay, so it's all of that. It's the learning side and also the practice side. We shouldn't make excuses. Right, it's easy for us to make a lot of excuses. Find a way even when there seems to be no way. So we have to be patient and persevere. right? Do whatever it is, our practice, in the practice, do it to the best of our ability. Okay. All right. So here, someone says here, yeah. So work is doing it, right? So sometimes we do work, but it's, but, it can be off and on. And we might just do it just because, well, it's a job or something, right? But discipline is doing it every day. So again, we apply, we have a disciplined regimen, some like a routine that we follow. Now, diligence then is doing it well every day. So then diligence is even higher levels. Like, yeah, not only do we do it, we follow this routine, but we try to do our best at it every day. Okay. All right. So now we get to the next paramita, the fifth one, concentration or samadhi. Okay. This one. Okay. So here it says samadhi settles the scattered, disturbed, and restless mind. Okay. It can break off or relinquish all karmic affinities. It can stop false, misleading, and improper thoughts. It can eliminate a confused and scattered mind. Right. With practice, we can concentrate like a mountain and not be disturbed by devils. So this is about, I guess you can say focus, concentration, not have the mind be distracted. Okay. Because, the human mind is constantly being distracted. Okay. Whether it's by stuff that's external or even internally when we have these distracting thoughts just popping up. Okay. Holy teacher says, in the Dharma ending age, that's now, okay, we're in the Dharma ending age where the true Dharma is kind of like it's fading out. Okay. We must take responsibility for our own transcendence. Okay, so for us to transcend this cycle of life and death, we have to take responsibility for achieving that. Do not further extend the karmic affinities. By letting affinity take its course, we can transcend all impediments and truly become unfettered. Okay. So we don't want these, whether it's any these what we call good or bad affinities, right, with sentient beings. What we want is what we call Buddha affinity. Buddha affinity established when we act according to the principles of Wu Wei, the non-motivation, non-motive action, and Sui Yin, the basically, just following whatever the affinity is, and also the four immeasurable minds, right? Compassion, mercy, loving kindness, joy, and equanimity. Okay. All right. So to stop false and misleading proper thoughts, right? We can silently recite the mantra, right? We're talking about the second treasure mantra. Okay. The divine mantra. Hold to the wordless sutra, right? That's the first treasure, right? The heavenly portal, and then silently recite Buddha's name. Okay. So we can recite the Maitreya Disaster Rescue Sutra as well. So that was kind of long, but it's good because it's from Maitreya Buddha, and it's for the white period, white era sutra. We can recite Namo Tenyuan Taiba Ami Tofo. Okay, so I guess that's like this is a title on the Maitreya Buddha. Okay, so true samadhi is where the mind is undisturbed and we are unattached to external forms. Self-reflection and concentration on the Buddha nature can eliminate a confused and scattered mind and stop false, misleading, improper, and distracting thoughts. Right? With power of concentration as stable as a mountain, the Buddha nature can become the master and devils cannot invade and disturb our mind. Okay, so we have to try to achieve this level of concentration, so to speak, so that we have no distractions. We're not attached to the forms, right? Okay, so that's very important in order to eliminate the confused and scattered mind and having the wrong thoughts and wrong mindset. Okay. Okay. So in Tan or Zen or Tan, all right, it talks about the principles of the mind, awakening to achieve the perfect enlightenment of Buddha nature, right? The settled mind achieves unperturbed calmness and leads to a tranquil repose. tranquility facilitates careful deliberation, producing the state of no evil or impure thoughts, the upright and proper mind. Okay, so this is actually, so, the realization of the Tao, right, is achieved when proper awareness resides in our mind. Okay, so, and that second one, the settled mind. So this is actually, something from the Great Learning. Confucius says that once we know our objective, right, we basically, to achieve this ultimate enlightenment with our true Buddha nature, the mind can be focused and settled, then the mind can achieve calmness, so be unperturbed, followed by a tranquil repose, which is a state of peaceful and calm rest. Mind in a state of tranquility then facilitates clear and careful deliberation. Such deliberation then leads to achieving the goal, which is the state of the proper mindedness. So taking form gives rise to motion, departing from forms ceases the arising and extinction. Okay. So forms are in motion, right? Constantly changing in a cycle of birth and death, arising and extinction, right? If forms arise in the mind, the result is dualistic views of right and wrong, right? To cease the cycle of birth and death, right? Do not desire or cling to forms and freely let go of or relinquish forms. Okay. The skill and practice of the fifth paramita leads to the ultimate harmony with yin and yang, right? So samadhi, this concentration is not part of yin and yang and does not interfere with it, right? Okay, so again, these 4 lines, the first words, characters, it says to practice samadhi to attain Tao or enlightenment. Okay. Samadhi is holding to the one, the Buddha nature of external detachment from forms and internal serenity of mind. That first character, Can Ding. Okay, Can, right? It's departing from forms, and Ding is the second character, is basically stillness of mind. Okay, so both of these, one is kind of external, one is internal, right? So samadhi is the juncture of a pure and still mind and a clear and bright true nature. Samadhi is the reality of seeing the truth of all phenomena and all phenomena returning to emptiness. Right? Samadhi is the clear understanding of the one-point transmission to know the eternal and the underlying mystical essence of everything. Right? Our eyes, right? They see the forms. The mind sees the truth. Right? Without Can, then the mind will be bound by the forms. Okay, so getting to the heart of the matter is digging deeper and not just scratching the surface, right? Okay, so awakening can come in an instant, whereas stillness is an always knowing, right? So we, until we are awakened, we're not in stillness, right? The mind is not in stillness. But once we awaken, then the mind is in that state of stillness. And in that stillness, we always know. So this is like the innate knowing. Okay, it's that awareness. Okay, you can say it's also, it's that wisdom is there too, and gives us that awareness. Okay. Samadhi is the secret of the basic reason to become enlightened and reveal our true potential. Okay. Samadhi is the dependence of heterodox practice and the absolute stillness of mind. So these practices, the external practices, are they're kind of like a intermediate level of cultivation, but absolute stillness of mind is the highest level of cultivation. Okay, so we don't want to pursue those intermediate practices because that can distract us and lead us away from the true, attaining the samadhi, right? The true, achieving the highest level. Samadhi is the perseverance through knowing the truth and cultivating true principles in the face of different views. So we have to, and samadhi is the gathering up of vexations, delusions, disorder, and confusion. So we have to rein in our conscious mind and keep it under control. We have to look inward, reflect inward, right? Introspect a lot. Okay, so this is part of the practice. Samadhi is the insight of staying in the Tao and being in harmony with heaven's mandate. Okay, so samadhi is the endpoint of clearly recognizing the grace of heaven and virtues of the holy teacher in the implementation of the golden thread. Right, so or endpoint, you can say like the destination, I guess. the transmission of golden thread. Okay, so samadhi is the bedrock of the Tao lineage, racing back from ancient times to the present. Samadhi is the foundation of unchangeable truth and not changing even under strain. So the truth never changes, even extreme circumstances, right? The true principles also never change under streams. Okay, so they would always remain the same. Let's see. Oh, time. Okay. Samadhi is the righteous energy to settle any differences in the temple. Samadhi is the tidying up of confusing ideas and corrected by spiritual orientation. Samadhi is the ability to be calm and still while in motion and to respond while in stillness. Yeah, so that's Samadhi is the secret of residing at the mystical portal and using the contract. Okay, so yeah, so the ability to be calm and still while in motion. So it's not like sitting meditation where you're still when you're sitting, but then as soon as we start doing things, then the mind is also in motion. So this is a Buddha is in a state of whether they're doing things, the mind is still, okay, calm and still. And they can in that state of mind, they can respond to any circumstance with using the wisdom. Okay, so that's what we want to achieve. So samadhi is joy of being everywhere, but not leaving the Buddha nature. Yeah. Okay. Samadhi is the dignified postures of standing instead of sitting, and sitting instead of reclining. Okay, so obviously, when we're in class, we sit properly, and or when we, it's like was it awe-inspiring postures, I guess. Right. Samadhi is the mortal transformation of drawing of water and vacating the fire. Okay, getting rid of yin and filling up with yang for all sentient beings. Okay, samadhi is the meeting of minds that attest to the Bodhisattva way and fulfillment of the 6 paramitas. Right. Okay, so when Holy Teacher gives us a simple instruction, simple can be viewed as Chan. Okay, so basically we want to keep things simple and don't overthink things. Don't make things too complicated. When we hear simple and straightforward words, just take them at face value. So we must have a sturdy foundation so that even when we are naive, we still can mature because of the Tao. Right? When we have endless pursuits, we can still turn back because of the Tao. When we are busy in life, we can still perceive experience because of the Tao. When we have endless vexation, we still can be worry-free because of the Tao. Right? So this, having that foundation, we need to have a strong foundation. Otherwise, and you can say this faith in the Tao, in not just the Tao. Well, the Tao is also our Buddha nature, okay, our self. So we have to have that confidence in ourself to be able to succeed, right? Disciples must recognize our foundation to not call it into question. Disciples must affirm our affinity to not have regrets. Disciples must must acknowledge our mission to not abandon it. Disciples must identify our golden thread to not go astray. So again, these are principles that talk about that we we have to stay with our golden thread so we don't go deviate, right, and eventually get lost again. Right, we have to know what our mission is so that we can continue carry it out. Yeah, so don't. Okay, so Holy Teacher asks, what is the source of disorder and confusion? Okay, so is it the temple? Is it the people matters? Is it the gossip? Is it the heart and mind? Right, the actual source, of course, is actually in the heart and mind. Okay, so this is something. I mean, of course, we get influenced by the external stuff, right? But ultimately, what gets influenced is the heart and mind. So the heart and mind is actually what causes problems. Okay. So samadhi is observing, right? Not to look indiscriminately, not to listen indiscriminately, not to speak indiscriminately, and not to act indiscriminately. So this is kind of like the four, what do you call it? The 4 taboos, right? Don't see, hear, speak, or act what is improper, right? But this is kind of a more broader generalization, I guess. It's not just what's not improper, but you know, just indiscriminate things. Okay, so basically being distracted, for example. So we have to pay attention, right? Let me see. Yeah, pay attention or concentrate on what one is supposed to do. Okay, so this is say concentrate, right? And not be distracted by anything that is irrelevant. The lesson in life and cultivation is that the world has many distractions that divert our attention and effort away from our purpose and goal, right? And we may fail to fulfill our purpose and achieve our goal, right? So, no matter what, we should maintain that samadhi, that concentration. Don't be distracted, and don't deviate from the true principles. Okay. Yeah. So, Luigi says, what we should fear most is confusion, disorder, inversion, disruption, etc., in the cultivation and propagation of Tao. Daily incense offering repentance. So yeah, because that's part of in the daily repentance offering, the what we say in Del Toro. Okay, so if we have those issues, so a lot of times, yeah, there's we have inverted views, or we're confused, or whatever. All these things happen, and so we need to be mindful. So concentration or samadhi, right? The purpose is to overcome anger, lack of clarity, external influences or distractions, confusion, and disorderly tendencies, to have basically single-minded concentration. And so it's basically samadhi is one of the 3 non-outflow studies that addresses anger, of the 3 poisons, right? So broadly speaking, it's the internal counterpart to like precepts and discipline. So we don't want the mind to run wild, right? Stop absurd, irrational, wishful thinking. Do not discriminately, look, listen, speak, and act. Right? Discard the 3 minds, the past, present, future, and 4 images: the self, ego, others, sentient beings, and life, personality. Okay. We have to concentrate the mind to not be distracted from our task principles. We have to rein in the scattered mind. Self-reflection and introspection are very important. The detachment from forms and stillness of mind. Let go of all karmic affinities and do not give rise to a single thought, right? Then we can achieve absolute stillness in the mind. On to the last 6 paramita, wisdom, prajna. Okay, so here it says, wisdom overcomes the ignorant and unenlightened mind, right? It can shatter ignorance and delusions. It can empty all the forms. It can comprehend principles and dharma. Can differentiate right from wrong. It can speak and act appropriately. Right. So this wisdom is very well. It's very powerful. I mean, it's if we can harness the wisdom that's within us, right, it can overcome our ignorance, our ignorant mind. Okay. So wisdom is the guide of the 6 paramitas, and it's the most important, right? So when we practice the paramitas or do any practice, we need to have wisdom, right, to guide us in the practice. If the first 5 paramitas are blind, then wisdom is the light that can eliminate 1,000 years of darkness. One bit of wisdom can extinguish 1,000 ignorances. So wisdom, one of 3 non-outflow studies, addresses ignorance, right? One of the 3 poisons, right? That are the 3 outflows, the desires, existence, and ignorance. Okay. So wisdom, what we call wisdom, or really prajna wisdom, is that innate wisdom that comes from our Buddha nature, and it is the most important thing that we can have, use, let's say, in our lives. Okay. Now, why get rid of ignorance? Okay, so ignorance obscures the truth of Tao and the way of liberation. Ignorance produces duality of view, stubbornness, attachments, erroneous thinking, fixation, and distress, thoughts that prevent the mind from being pure and still. Right. So obviously, ignorance is one of the biggest obstacles for us to becoming enlightened, awakened. Okay. So do not be afraid of thoughts arising, but be afraid that awareness comes too late. So we have to be aware of the thoughts. So always, saying we have to be mindful of what's happening in our mind. Okay. The Buddha mind is pure and still, even in this dusty world, the world that we're in. Wisdom is the cornerstone of mastering all dharmas. Yeah. So wisdom facilitates perfect harmony, right? Because wisdom is the perfect guide, right? For us to be able to deal with any situation. Wisdom will guide us in just the right way. Okay. Lawyer says, so marvelous, profound, subtle wisdom, right? The three awakenings reveals knowing without learning and a natural and innate ability and potential. Wisdom sees, okay, so the three awakenings is the self-awakening, awakening others, and the discipline of attainment for self and others. Okay? And the knowing, the noumenon, right? The knowing without learning. Yeah, that's kind of this innate, it's you can say it's the knowledge comes from the wisdom and the awareness, innate awareness. Okay. So wisdom eye sees through the three realms and 10 directions, penetrating the false and seeing the true, right? So, confirms the preciousness of the one, right? Proving that there is nothing to gain or lose, right? So there's non-duality. Everything is as it is, okay? There's nothing to gain, nothing to lose. The ultimate level of the sixth paramita is motiveless action or unconditional true reality. Okay, so and the wisdom, the wisdom eye, right? The wisdom eye, right? Sight can see through the false and find the truth, unmask and get rid of selfishness, get rid of stubbornness, attachments, prejudice, bias, resolve grievances and karma, inspire enlightenment, achieve comprehension of the mind, and see the true nature, right? So the oneness of mind and essence is the true reality, right? What we call dharma kaya or dharma dhatu. So without wisdom, right, practicing the other five paramitas can deviate from the true path of enlightenment. The Dharma Sutra says that all forms are false and unreal. To see forms as empty is to see the Buddha, right? So, and then we say Wu-Wei is motiveless action or unconditional, is natural, right? It's egoless without motive, right? Unconditional action, free from passions and senses. Okay. So the first characters in each of these lines says, wisdom attests to or proves the Tao. So really, if we can get to the point where we have this wisdom, then we have proven the Tao basically in ourselves, okay, that we have achieved, okay. All right. So wisdom is the lofty virtue of knowing without seeking and ability without learning, right? So it's not wisdom. This wisdom does not depend on anything that's external, right? It's all it's within us. So we can know without seeking, and we have innate these abilities, okay? So wisdom is the highest study of clearly seeing through all things and revealing the true self-nature. Wisdom is the smooth implementation of following principles according to the true nature and dealing with matters according to principle. Wisdom is the harmony of immersing in fire without burning and submerging in water without drowning. Okay, so wisdom is a strategy of starting to realize Tao and all dharmas, returning to the one, right? Wisdom is the turning point of transcending the common and entering the saintly. Wisdom is the right moment of clearing doubts, giving rise to faith and self-awakening enlightenment. Wisdom is the experience of immediate comprehension from a single hint. Yeah, so it's just like, some of the, like the sixth patriarch, Huineng, right? When he heard was it the Diamond Sutra? No, it was the Diamond Sutra. I don't know. One of the sutras. Someone was chanting one of the sutras, and suddenly he realized, it's like he knew what it meant. Okay, so wisdom. Let me see. Wisdom is the take and give, or give and take, of proceeding when principled and withdrawing when unprincipled. So this is something we say a lot, and basically that when it is, if it's following the Tao principles, then we can proceed and do it. If it is not, then we should, back away from that and not do it. Okay. Wisdom is the principle of not being confused in fate or life and not being ignorant of causality and karma. So we have to really understand karma, causality. You know, if we don't, then basically that we don't have that wisdom. We don't have wisdom, right? So we really need to truly understand it. Wisdom is the inherent quality of all souls, true nature, and of heaven's blessing. Wisdom is the qualification of the reflecting light from the true self nature and prior heaven and post heaven. Okay, so yeah, so this is something that comes from our essence, the true nature, Buddha nature, and yeah, it's a inherent quality, and it's the same, it's equal for everyone, all sentient beings. Wisdom is the homework of seeing through the impermanence of life and grasping the true and eternal. Wisdom is the choice of reviewing the past and looking to the future. Wisdom is the affirmation of the unmasking of complete enlightenment and unhindered penetrating insight. Wisdom is the cutting off of or driving away the 7 emotions and severing the 6 desires. Okay, I'm going to have to start skipping forward here because we're over time already. Holy teacher is most afraid of hearing disciples say, no, not, okay, don't know how. Okay, so wisdom is not being trapped by methods and not being misguided by dharma. Okay, so the first 5 paramitas are methods, but we should use wisdom to break the mold of methods, right? Is racking our brains to think of something using our wisdom. Those who cannot find the root cultivate blindly, right? So it's not based on our intellect, right? Wisdom again goes beyond that. So sometimes we have to calm our mind, let our mind be still and empty, you can say, to have that wisdom, right? Everyone has equal wisdom, right? It comes from the Buddha nature. Okay, it's not. All right, so the purpose of this wisdom, prajna wisdom, is to overcome ignorant and delusional tendencies, give profound insight and awareness, and in the practice, right, is to basically comprehend the truth and the dharma, basically like the 4 noble truths, the 3 minds, 4 images, 5 scandals, all these things, right? To let us see, that is the true nature of things, okay? And to see what's true and false, differentiate between the true and the false, right? To speak and act appropriately, right? And also, it's the noumenon, the innate knowledge, okay? So, yeah, that's okay. So wisdom, it's one of the 3 non-alpha studies addresses ignorance, which is the most important thing because ignorance is what leads us to basically creating karma. And so we have to break that chain, the 12 dependent, the links of dependent origination, right? That's what leads to karma. Okay, so wisdom is like the most important there. Okay, so Holy Chief said, wisdom can be revealed by reducing desires, maintaining a calm and even temperament with pure thoughts, and can be revealed with pure thoughts and a broad mind, and can be revealed with ethical conduct and fulfilling basic duty. Okay, it's also by following the rules and observing proprieties, right, by not losing goodness and persisting in Tao study, by getting along with, accommodating, and having consideration for others. Okay, so hopefully, we all have that wisdom. May the wisdom be with us, right? So every day, right? We have to use our wisdom, basically, because it's just like we don't have to experience a lifetime before we have a chance, right? So every morning we're born again. And what we do today is what matters the most. So, but we have to use our wisdom. So to correct our mistakes, to make progress, right? So that is kind of the second half of the 6 paramitas. If I had said anything wrong or not satisfactory, I ask the Buddhas for forgiveness and also ask transmitters and lecturers for their corrections. And finally, I also dedicate the merits from this class to the sentient beings who need it. Thank you.